Welcome back to episode 158 of the Disorganized Wizards Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm joined as always by Adam.
Hello.
And Cam.
What's up?
And we're a group of Ottawa-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournament stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
Play anything that we can afford to travel to, have time to travel to, and qualify for.
The time issue has been one for me lately.
Dude, it's been a beating lately.
Yeah, just like nearing the end of the semester, like TAing more. Well, not really more, but like the same amount, but also like trying to finish up this example that my supervisor wants me to do. But like over the last 2 months, I keep alternating between like thinking I understand the example and then like reading something else and being, oh, I don't understand what's happening. And reading a third thing, oh, I do understand. But then a fourth makes me like, I don't know what those other three things we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just applying for jobs and everything. It's just time consuming. Plus doing my normal job. Yeah, on top of that, yeah. Feels like I'm working a bunch of jobs at once.
And so I didn't really have much time to prep for one of these tournaments that we could afford and was within traveling range, which was a PTQ that happened at Wizards Tower over the weekend. Great sponsor of this podcast.
WizardTower.com. Check them out for all your Magic single needs.
Yeah, they have a Black Friday sale coming up in a couple days here, starting November 28th to December 1st, I believe, is the sale.
Is the 28th the Friday?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Last year, that was when I spec'd.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought like 30 foil Spire Bluff canals or something obnoxious. Bought them for $8 a piece.
It's pretty good with
Pull it
Pioneer
up.
having been announced.
Pull it up, Stelly. How am I doing? How's my stonks?
Let's head on right over.
Check
to
the old
Wizards Tower.
portfolio here. Buy low, sell high. That's my motto. I'm rich. It's official. We're
like
over,
$20.
We're double.
They're 30
Oh,
bucks.
30 for the foils. Wow.
Dude, yeah. Over double what I paid, dude. We did it. And I'm just going to keep sitting on them, dude. Thank you, Pioneer. But I took advantage of their black 20% off singles. It's pretty good. So I took advantage of their sale last year and kind of cashed in. So, do the same. Get rich like me.
I actually just realized I bought another playset of Spire Bluff canals a few months ago when I couldn't find my original set. And then I found my set, so now I have two. But they've gone way up in price since the announcement of Pioneer.
Yeah.
So it just worked out.
Yeah, that's our friend Ryan, who's been a guest on the show talking about Storm, actually is that's his strat. Just never sell anything.
Yeah, that's how I have like all my Pioneer cards now. Because I just was too lazy to ever sell sort or sell anything. But yeah, there was this PTQ at Wizards Tower. And because of this sort of time crunch, I hadn't been playing a ton on Arena and didn't want to like think about the intricacies of like, I don't know, an actually good deck. So I built mono red for like $40.
Speaking about actually not good decks.
And not that mono red, I mean, okay, so it wasn't great for me, but I think this is because, and I don't know what happened to the collective like group of mono red players that just brainwashed them into always building decks wrong. But my deck was built wrong and I net decked it, so it's not my fault. Actually, I didn't net deck it, but like I copied some of the important features. So like I understand that cavalcade lists were around for a while. And those decks are sort of more traditional mono red, a lot of 1-drops, some 2s, maybe 3s because Slaying Fire's nuts. But like there, I can see you getting away with 20, 21 lands. I played a mono red version based on Experimental Frenzy, Torbran, and Chandra. And 21 lands, in my opinion, and I mean, P-Sams tells me I'm crazy, but 21 lands, in my opinion, is not enough for a deck that desperately requires a 4-drop on curve to keep up.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I just lost a lot of games with 4 drops in hands and 3 lands as my opponents like played bad and missed things and just had like 5 free turns.
Yeah.
But the games where I had a 4-drop on turn 4, I won, as other people said, bad matchups, just like stomp my opponents because like the 4-drops in that deck like are insanely powerful. So yeah, I just don't know why there isn't like 23 land versions, 24 land versions. Like if you're playing Frenzy, you want like 7 lands in play because you can just keep going.
Yeah, I agree.
So I feel like I would have done better if my deck was built differently, but I also really didn't practice much going up to it, so I didn't notice this. So I didn't have a great tournament, but how'd you guys do?
Yeah, mono red doesn't even feel that great like right now.
Yeah, it's not amazing.
That's
but
a
like,
sign that Standard's like never in a good place when mono red is like not a deck.
Yeah, parts of it are like pretty weak. Like Scorch Spitter is sort of underpowered. I get that it's good with Torbran and turns on Spectacle, but still like it's sort of, you're just playing a common. But on the other side, like frenzying people is nuts. Like if you get multiple turns with Frenzy, it feels like you're cheating. Torbran itself just like makes combat uneasy. So like it's got powerful cards in it. And so I'd be like curious about how the red deck evolves as more sets get added to standard.
Yeah, it'll get better.
Well, I did horribly. I started 0-2. I got a little unlucky with mulligan in game 3, a couple mulligans in game 3, and definitely sideboarded wrong. Lost round 1 and then just savagely punted away my round 2. So I just got the classic old 0-2 start. And yeah, that was my tournament.
You fools. You absolute fools. You should have played the most brainless deck imaginable like I did, where it just doesn't matter. And people think your decisions matter because they want to feel smart. But I played fires. See, like you were like, I don't know, standard format. I'll just play mono red. Yeah, but that's a big thinkum deck actually, secretly.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, yeah, you're right. It is.
You know, whereas like fires, it's just the most brain off deck imaginable. Like it felt like I was playing Valakut again. You
I
know,
couldn't find Cavaliers. I was looking around a bit, but
yeah, it's because I bought the last ones probably.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, it felt like Valakut. You know, there's no decisions. That's not entirely true, but I think the decisions like were pretty obvious. And when you're gonna win, you usually just run away with it. And then like the quote unquote tight spots are just realizing that like, okay, I have to do this now or the game's gonna end. Or like, you know what I mean? It's not that complicated. I don't know. I went 4-2. My losses were to the Mirror and Esper Control, which can be a tough matchup if they can counter everything.
Yeah, it was Esper Doom Foretold though, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
Yeah, it's actually harder.
Yeah, I feel like Doom Foretold is much worse for you than just standard Esper.
Yeah, the matchup's way harder. They usually have main deck Sorcerer Spyglass too, which is Cam noted is good against your Cavaliers because you can name the red Cavaliers so you can't haste them out and then they have time to Kai's Wrath you. So like, yeah, the main deck Spyglass can be a beating. Like there's just like Doom Foretold's obviously just like locks you out of the game essentially.
Yeah, like
out of that deck. So.
They can line up to have Doom Foretold deal with your fires pretty easily.
Yeah, it's
think
super.
so.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because your
it's
best draw of like fires drawn, they just play Doom Foretold and get your fires, you know? And then you play Odd Cavalier naked. Okay, they kill that, you know? And eventually it gets to a point where you have no cards in hand and they have, you know, none either, but they top deck a dance and then the game ends on the spot. But yeah, I lost a Mirror where some like questionable decisions, but I got pretty unlucky. Like I just got nut drawn in game 1 where it was like the turn 4 fires into like drawn into double Cavalier into Cavalier the next turn, or maybe it was a Kenrith, I can't remember, but like, you know, just nothing you could like in the Mirror there's nothing you can do. I was a turn behind. Like I also had the nut draw, but I was on the draw.
That's a
Like
lot of cavalry.
I lost the die roll. Kept track of my die rolls as a joke that day. We know a player who does that, and I kind of always laugh about it because like, I mean, statistically it doesn't matter, you know? And I was laughing about it. I lost every die roll, but yeah, I lost the only one die roll that really matters, which is the Fire Mirror. Lost. Fires ended up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, I think 3 copies of the deck made top 8.
Yeah, the one that won was like the exact list I played.
Yeah.
It was pretty popular though, right? There was a number of people on it.
Yeah, there was a bunch. It was everywhere. That and like Cat, which was what lost in the finals. It's like Cat Oven. But yeah, deck was fine. It's like not fun though. Like I thought it'd be a lot more enjoyable to play, and I'd played it a bunch online leading up to the tournament, and a bunch. I played it maybe Monday and Tuesday of last week, and then just stopped playing it and started playing other decks, knowing that like, well, I have the cards for this in paper. That's just what I'm going to play. But I stopped playing it because it's so unenjoyable and like there's nothing to learn that I was like, okay, like I'm done here. Like there's nothing interesting going on. Like
you get to watch all the sweet animations. I play a red Cavalier and my hand looks like it's on fire. Play a blue Cavalier, everything's splashing around.
Yeah, like it's just a personal thing for me. Like I just don't like the play style of the deck. Like I just personally don't find it enjoyable. I'm sure there's people who love it, but like for me, it just kind of feels.
Side note, what do you
boring.
guys think of the new animations in the most recent client of Arena?
Well, at least they fixed a goose.
There was a goose animation issue?
Well, like that, it sounds like a goose.
Oh, that was fixed a while ago.
Oh.
The Exile Zone has a different animation now.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Fabled Passage has a new animation now.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Murderous Rider has one now too.
Yeah.
I never pay attention to any of those things.
Oh, really?
I don't even know what anything sounds like. I only know the goose thing because you told me.
They're all fine. Like the Fabled Passage animation, whatever, it still takes the same amount of time to like pull up their deck list and go get a land. The only one that really annoys me is that before, like if cards were in exile, it was just like a little gray rectangle. Now it's like not even a rectangle. It's just this like swirling gray animation.
That's weird. Yeah, no, I don't play with sounds or anything.
Really?
No, I've never heard like most arena sounds. I was playing with when I was playing with John Rowe on stream on Discord. He was screen sharing. We were testing some decks, and I heard the arena sound. I was like, "What is that?" I had no idea because I just have them all turned on, like the master volume on 0. Because I'm always I have multiple monitors, I'm watching a movie or music. I'm not gonna listen to arena sounds by choice, man. I play music or something.
Well, no, I have arena sounds on quiet while I'm listening to music.
Oh god,
It lets
that's
me know that,
so gross.
Lets me know that my creatures are hitting their face.
What is wrong with you?
I know that things are happening.
Yeah, I guess you just have that little respect for the music you listen to. Speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I think
You're saying my volumes speak volumes.
Yeah.
I think I have everything all the way down except master volume is maybe 2% up. So you can just
see, but you're
if
missing
you
so much
really
of
listen.
the culture around the game. Like back when you played Hearthstone more frequently, you didn't know that Sen'jin Shieldmaster, everyone called Taz Dingo, and you didn't know why.
Yeah, I had no idea because I don't play with any sounds.
Right, but it's because when you play it, it says Taz Dingo.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the thing is, most of the time I spend playing arena, I also spend watching someone else play arena as well.
So you can hear
so
their sounds?
I can hear their sounds. So I don't need 2 sounds going on at the same time.
See, that's
You know what I'm
fine.
saying?
So, but even if I watch arena streams, I mute the streamers because I don't want to listen to Magic streamers.
Okay.
Generally, depends.
All right.
It depends on the person. Because it's not them. Sorry, it's not the person. It's the music. I don't want to listen to their music usually.
Okay.
There are exceptions. Sometimes Caleb plays pretty good music. It's hit or miss. Sometimes it's really bad, but I kind of like that about his stream that it's a variety hour for music,
Mhm.
But other than that, but he plays music. I don't think he has arena sounds on.
Yeah, I can't really remember.
Yeah, I don't think he does. So that's why he's one of the only streamers I watch where, I don't listen to the arena sounds. And usually, if it's someone with arena sounds, I'll just mute it and play music while also having their stream open. And then the only other times are during Magic events where even the MCs, you don't hear the arena sounds. It's commentary, right?
Yeah.
So I just never hear them.
Oh, no, wait. No, for the arena MCs, they definitely have the sounds on.
Oh, do they? Because we were
100%.
co-commenting though, so I probably just never paid attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when we were co-streaming, we have the official stream muted,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't have heard them anyway.
We had the people we were sharing screen with muted, so we wouldn't hear their sounds. But when Cam and I were doing, that was paper. But I definitely remember watching arena MCs, and they have sounds on. 100%.
Yeah, I could see them wanting to because it's a product they made and it's part of the product, sure. But yeah, I don't know.
It's really diving into the important stuff this episode.
Hey man, I'm just saying.
I mean,
I'm
it
just
is.
saying.
I will say though that you mentioned the goose change. People were mad about that, and that was one of the Twitter outrage things that I got on board with. For a week or two when you played Gilded Goose, it made the Healer Hawk sound.
Oh, the
Like a hawk,
screeching
like an
hawk.
eagle or something.
Yeah. I was about to make it, and I was like, I'm not making that.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't want to because I don't want to botch it. What if I?
Right.
What if I try and screech
And
like
so
a
people
hawk?
just lost their mind.
I could
They're
have just edited in a horrible screeching sound. There, that would have been good.
Yeah, you should have.
and people lost their mind. They're like, "There's no way this golden idiot sounds that fierce." So then it got switched to a honk.
Yeah, the honk is way better. One of my opponents on the weekend at the PTQ quacked when he played his goose, and I was like, "Yeah, that's the wrong animal, bud." And then he was like, "Yeah, I know," and he knew it. He's like, "Yeah, I know. I just can't make a goose noise." He's like, "That's what you get instead." I was like, "All right, that's great." Can you imagine? Guy just honks. Grown man just honks at you. You're or quacks. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, you a Mighty Ducks fan or it's a
What's
flying
going on
bee here? What are we doing over here? Yeah, it was really funny, man. Yeah, it was good.
Jeez. Yeah.
I've been having lots of weird Magic discussions lately, our
Right.
Discord, there's been some wild ones.
Yeah, there has been. Which, if you want to be a part of, head on over to patreon.com/DWC Podcast. Every single tier gets access to the DWC Discord.
Yeah, easy ads, but
plug.
Yeah, easy. How much you guys both paying me? Yeah. But yeah, there's a good one in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some good ones lately about play design. Just seeing other people's takes on it is super interesting. I like that people have conversations about play test, play design, what they think are the acceptable limits of power levels and all that. You know what I mean?
It was refreshing that a bunch of other people in the discussion seemed to be as frustrated with Planeswalkers as we are.
Yeah.
Now, there could be some confirmation bias here because we express our frustration with walkers on the podcast, which they listen to, and then they have the discussion. But I think even outside of people who know about the DWC, everyone's getting pretty frustrated with them.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to see people collectively frustrated about Planeswalkers, just head over to twitter.com
I thought I had a
and
sweet
follow
idea.
a bunch of Magic people.
Well, I mean, look at the last year, right? 4 of the best Planeswalkers of all time printed in 2019,
Yep.
right? Like Narset, Teferi 3, Renin 6, Oko. Like I might actually be at the point where I'm like, hey, I don't know. Like Narset's probably better than Jace now too. Like,
Better than Jace?
well, I mean, Jace ain't banned in any format. Narset restricted in Vintage. Hashtag
Scoreboard.
scoreboard.
I mean, if you had to pick one and your opponent got the other, I'd pick Narset.
Yeah, exactly.
What are they going to do? Brainstorm?
Yeah, exactly. Can't do anything. Yeah, Fate Seal me or whatever. I'll just look at the top 4.
Yeah, exactly. Fate Seal doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Old man Jace, dude, get out of here. The future is now. You cost 4. You know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about this. Like, that's outrageous that I was like, man, Jace sucks. You know what I mean? Like, in Modern, if you were like, hey, Adam, you should register as Jack with Jace, I'd be like, all right, man. Like, how much are you paying? Like, first off, you got to pay my entry and then probably an extra $100 just for me to waste my time casting that card.
It's a Planeswalker with a 0.
Yeah.
Playable Planeswalkers these days have like +5s only.
Yeah, exactly. Oko takes up 2 and 1. And like, Jace doesn't even have a static ability. Get that guy out of here. You know what I mean?
Wow, that card sucks.
Yeah.
Just an old generation.
Yeah, dude, just an old boomer. He's done, man. Yeah. Jace is the okay boomer with Planeswalkers.
That's what I was just gonna say.
I feel bad for him, but that's just how it is, you know? He
Format.
lived too long. He lived
Yeah.
too long.
Just gonna hit someone with that at a tournament, like they tap out for Jace, like brainstorm. You're like, you got it, boomer.
Okay, boomer. You know, like it's ridiculous, man. The Planeswalkers need to stop.
Dude, I saw a YouTube video. I told you about this, Adam, but I saw a YouTube video of this like old guy making fun of boomers, like doing the okay boomer meme.
Yeah.
And my first reaction was like, oh, that's kind of funny. He's like making fun of himself. And then he's like, now some of you might be wondering why a boomer's making fun of themselves. I'll have you know, I'm actually not a boomer. I'm older. I was born before like 46. So they're just kids.
Yeah, I was talking on there actually even about how like I think Planeswalkers are like, horrible for the story too in the design space and like everything about them is awful. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have like a philosophical conversation about design principles and all that, come join our Discord and I'll hit you with the rants.
Mhm.
But yeah, the PTQ is okay. Like I top 16'd,
Yeah.
got you in the last round.
Yeah, Adam and I got paired at 3 and 2 in the last round, and we're kind of like, well, one of us will win into top 16. The other one will be top 32, so we'll just split prize and play for pride.
Yeah.
He smushed me.
Yeah, did I 2-0?
Yeah.
I think I multi 5 in game 1 too.
Yeah, I mulled 5 in game 1.
Never saw a single Sphinx of Foresight. And then when I mulled, like each time, and then I'm like, I'll keep this 5. He's on the play, right? Because I obviously lost every die roll.
Yeah.
And then I just draw for turn, like it's a Sphinx of Foresight. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
I scried 3 once all weekend.
Before I played my first land too, I was like, pregame effects? You're like, God, no.
Yeah, I've never had it.
And then he groaned when he drew his first.
Yeah, I was like, come on. Because like once you draw it, you're like, this thing is useless. So
Oh, I think
that's
it's a pretty
funny.
good creature.
you just needed the scry. That's the only reason I'm here. You know what I mean? Like I'm here for the scry.
I mean, once upon a time it's banned, so like Sphinx Foresight got to be close.
Yeah, same thing basically, right? But yeah, no, the PTQ is okay. I don't know. Standard didn't look great. Hate to say it, because I
Well,
want Standard to be great,
It looked better than it did before.
but it looked better than it did. Things are
It's an
getting better.
improvement, Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
I'm also not too worried about the fact that a tournament a week after the banning announcement was dominated by the 2 obvious decks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's just why I played Fires, right? I was like, this
Yeah.
thing's like obviously
People
good.
just like didn't have time. Like it's been a week. Well, actually, it was like a day after bannings went into effect, a week after they were announced. But
yeah.
I think things will probably diversify slightly.
Well, like the season's essentially over, right?
That too. Theros is coming out in
Yeah.
like a month.
But there's still the last arena MC, not this weekend, but the weekend after.
Yeah, that'll
so,
be the only one thing that really matters, right?
Yeah, we'll
And
see
then-
what happens there. But
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I'm hoping it's exciting. I
I've
don't know
seen
though. Like a
some,
lot of people hate the cat decks. I kind of like them, but I would. You know, that's
like the
kind of
cat deck.
that's the kind of deck
Yeah.
I'd like. So
I played Jund Cat at the PTQ. I loved it. I thought my deck was good, and I've really enjoyed playing that deck so far. It's fun. I've seen some wild brews. Seen, I think it was V Mousewitch who posted a Fires Mayhem Devil cat deck with Niv Mizzet. Visit Reborn, and like Casualties of War, Ethereal Absolution, and Mayhem Devil Cat.
Oh yeah, that's sick.
It was awesome.
I told you about the deck I was playing with, like Ethereal Absolutions and Clackbridge Troll, right? They don't get any goats.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Dude, it's nuts.
That was I guess we'll just
Take
mix it in
9.
here because you reminded me of a story that I heard from a friend of ours who told me this story while we were at the PTQ. So I think it qualifies as like a pretty good blowout. He was playing like mono black cat midrange, and he was playing on Arena, and one of his opponents brought in a Hushbringer to stop the cats. And then he like double Clackbridge trolled him, and the Hushbringer stopped the goats.
That's pretty good, actually. That's
Really
that's actually insane blow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed Hushbringer shows up more. I actually don't think that card's good.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that it's enough. You know.
I mean, it dies so easily.
Yeah, that's why I mean.
Dies easily. It only really turns off cat. It doesn't stop any of the other like when something gets sacrificed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if they have a Mayhem Devil that just kill your Hushbringer instantly, like it's not hard for them. I don't know. I don't buy it. Like I think people are still looking for answers. I think Leyline of the Void is one of the best answers. But then
Leyline, I actually disagree. Leyline lines up really poorly against a lot of draws out of the cat decks. And
I just meant for graveyard deck. Like,
well, yeah, for but specifically against cat, I actually think it's not a good plan. There's
really?
Yeah, I've beaten it like all the time. Just there's so many draws where it just doesn't really matter, and you're bringing in
with John, yeah,
and like you have just incidental hate already for it. You know, I don't know. I just haven't been really impressed with that sideboard plan.
What incidental
against
hate?
cat.
Casualties?
Well, yeah, you have like Casualties. There's a bunch of lists playing trophies. You're bringing in Brontodons. Like it just doesn't really. It isn't like the complete game ender that I think you'd want out of a card like that.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's a game ender.
Yeah,
but I think in the opening turns it's good because they don't have ways to interact with it early.
Till like turn 3.
What? Like, yeah, I'm just confused. What you're like? What is killing it on turn 3?
Like Brontodon, maybe.
Let's turn 4.
Well, I mean, if you didn't have a mana acceleration or anything, yeah. But I don't know. I don't really like. Why do you think it's that good?
Well, I'm just saying it's the best like graveyard hate.
Graveyard, yeah, okay, sure. It's the best graveyard hate, but I don't think that's the best way to fight the cat deck. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. Although I think like you still get them a lot of the times with like cat. Like you can stop that, and if that's what you're concerned about, then it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Like if that's your concern is like just getting cat off the board and buying enough time, then it's still fine, right? Like they can't Assassin's Trophy it on turn 2.
No, you're not going to Assassin's Trophy on turn 2.
Like that's what I'm getting at. Like Leyline lets you still just like play a free spell and then just do the rest of the things you'd normally do.
Okay.
And like you don't have to answer it, whereas they do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like
yeah, that makes sense.
Like they still have to do something. Whereas like what other sideboard card is like stopping their graveyard?
I guess the next best would be Cry of the Carnarium, but
Cry is good. But it requires
as
like,
you mentioned, like cat players can play around it based on how they bring their cat back.
yeah, if you suspect Cry, but you never suspect Cry in the cat mirror.
Oh, in the cat mirror, yeah.
Yeah.
But like you can set it up in the cat mirror that it's actually good. Like you can get them in the cat mirror.
Well, no one's going to expect it.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Like the problem with Leyline though, then this is why like I agree with you ultimately is like you need 4. Because if it's not a free spell, it's bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like it's only good if it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have it on turn 0 and then you can just play your normal game plan of Cat Oven and they need to find an answer.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just
And
my
like-
experience, like small sample size against it has been different because like I don't think I've ever lost to someone playing a turn 0 Leyline, but I mean I haven't played an infinite amount of games about it, so it's like kind of you know not the best results to go based off of. But I've just never been really impressed with that sideboard plan in the mirror matches.
Yeah.
But-
I'm not sure it's the best either. I'm just saying it's like the best option if you're going for the graveyard.
Yeah, if that's how you want to attack it.
Like,
I
yeah,
think
if that's what you're doing, it's the only one. But
Yeah.
like the problem is like, again, it's not good because you're just sitting there with like, you have to have 4. Because if it's like, if you're just tapping out to pay 4 for it, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Like that I agree with.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think like Assassin's Trophy is like particularly like good against it because like you have to wait then on your Assassin's Trophy because you
Yeah.
can't ramp them. Casualties is too slow. You know what I mean? Like there's not actually that much hate. It's like Brontodon.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think it's fine. But the problem is that like if it's not in your opener, so it's like high roll, which is like how standard is currently constructed. It's like just high rolling.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are looking for some way to attack cat decks and maybe you aren't super happy with the options available to attack their graveyard, what else does cat really do? Like, what does it do very well? It's very good at controlling small creatures, X1s, X2s with Mayhem Devil. And it's very good at chump blocking sort of indefinitely by putting a cat in front, sacking it, bringing it back. So like, do you just go to something that's like Questing Beast, Gruul Spellbreaker, like large creatures that are hard for Mayhem Devil to ping down and trample or unblockable effects that cat can't stop?
Yeah, there
Just
are
race
some
them.
decks that do well like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what Davies was playing, right? Like,
Yeah.
Same thing, and that's his logic. Is like, man, you just play a bunch of X4s that, cat can't really block and they can't do anything about.
Yeah, just play like Vivian 4, Questing Beast, Tramplers that attack through your mediocre ground.
Yeah, because they don't have like
Yeah.
good removal for that.
Mm-hmm. No, you don't at all.
Like actually at all, because you can't afford to.
Yeah.
Because of the way the game plan of your deck is constructed, like you just can't afford to do that.
Mm-hmm. And like you'll go as the cat decks, you win all the late games and you grind out everybody. But if your opponent's putting pressure on you with hard to deal with planeswalkers and threats, like you don't have that time.
Yeah, Vivian is like a. See, that's what I'm wondering is like maybe the approaching like beating the cat deck from a sideboard perspective is just incorrect. Like I don't think like you can just bring in like because I'm like I agree with you that Leyline isn't enough to win, but I think it's like the best option if your game plan is to address the graveyard.
I agree.
But
with
this
you
is
there,
like
for sure
preempting our topic really, which is like, yeah, but is that enough to even? Is it worth bothering? Like in the mirror, is it even worth bothering? It's like, well. I don't know. Then you enter like a weird dance of like, well, they're probably not going to bring in Graveyard Hate because it's not actually that good. And then you don't bring in anything that can stop it, or like have anything that can stop. But you're going to bring in Bronton on for their ovens anyway. So
yeah, that's the thing, right?
but then they are stretched thin. I don't know. I'm torn on this one, but I don't know. Anyway, my point here was that perhaps you just need to have your deck designed in a way that, like you don't need to make this weird call. Like maybe that's the option, which is why like. Vivian 4 has been like Arcbow Ranger has just been like incredible for me recently in Standard.
I think that card's very, very good right now.
I think it's like one of the best position cards in Standard right now. I think it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I think that card's so good. But yeah, it's weird because like I don't know though, because bringing in Leyline and then also expecting them to bring in Bronton on for your ovens and everything, right? It's like it overloads their removal plus Trail of Chromes. Like they have to make a decision. So like I don't know. I can't tell if like. Leyline's good because normally if this was like a prison deck, and okay, so one of the mistakes people used to make against me all the time when I'd play Affinity is they would like swap lightning bolts for like, I don't know, Ancient Grudge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it's an upgrade. You get to cast it, you get to bolt twice, but it's still just spot removal. Like I'm gonna run you over, right? And I would every time. But when they Stony Silenced me, I was like, yeah, rats, like now I can't function.
Yeah.
And
See,
so, like,
but this is a problem I have with Leyline because your deck can totally function against a Leyline. Like, there's certain draws where you just don't have a cat, and you can still very easily win.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is kind of
that's the issue. Yeah.
Which is why I don't really like that sideboard plan.
Yeah, in the mirror, I can see that being the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have like Mayhem Devils and stuff, so you can just shoot stuff down.
Yeah, and
but I think there are other decks that want Leyline very badly versus them because like. For example, if you're playing like Esper stacks, it's like nuts. Because if they kill it, you just keep bringing stuff back.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there are certain decks that would want to take that approach post board.
But in the mirror, it feels like you're rolling the dice.
Yeah, in the mirror, I really don't like it though.
Yeah, I don't even have it in the sideboard of any of my cat decks either.
No, neither do I.
Because I don't think it matters. Like same thing. I would rather have more impactful things.
Yeah.
Like diversify a bit. Like if I lose my cats, it's like I lost one card out of 56 other cards. But like there are decks where they only care about cat, So it's like, yeah, it's hard to think about like what the solution is. Like in the cat mirror, I don't even know like what the best cards have been. Like it's just like a grindy like.
Yeah, I've tried a bunch of different approaches. I've tried kind of like maxing out on Casualties of War and trying to take that approach where you just kind of completely blow them out, get a 3 or 4 for 1 with that card, and then roll things from there. I've also tried multiple Garrick approach where you just kind of try and ultimate a Garrick right away And then that's a pretty much an auto win. I've really liked that plan.
If you ult Garrick in this format, it's over, man. I had somebody ulted against me recently, and then they just like followed up with a Vivian. I was like, that's not that bad. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's a 6/6. Never mind.
Yeah. And specifically in the mirror match, like everything has +3/+3 and trample. They usually just die on the spot because you have no more good blocks. There's no more,
nothing.
Cats just chumping big things. It usually just ends. But the problem with that matchup is you kind of want to be playing like 3 copies of Garrick, I think, because a lot of the time the first one just comes down and dies immediately because there's just, both players are playing Murderous Riders. There's trophies floating around. It's not too hard to just...
Yeah, you need the second one to close the gap. Yeah.
It's usually the second one that, if you have a couple wolves lying around from the first one, you can kind of play it, sack a wolf, pump it up to 6 emblem, and then, just win from there.
That seems like the best strat. Yeah, I've been playing Garrick too. He's been really good.
Yeah, so I haven't minded that plan. I think I like it a little bit more than trying to go super hard on casualties.
Yeah, casualties is clunky sometimes. I think people like casualties though because it high rolls. Again, this is like a standard.
Don't get me wrong. I love casting.
No, me too. But like there are times where you're like, okay, get your fires, your Teferi, your Cavalier, your Castle Vantress, and I don't know, whatever, if they have an
your
artifact.
choice. It's on the house.
Yeah. Whatever artifact you want. You know what I mean? Like,
actually, I'll kill my food just to make you feel better.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I think people got to face the harsh reality on casualties that a lot of the times you just killing a creature in a land.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're in a spot where you're like, ugh, like, I can't just take 6. Like, I got to kill this, I don't know, questing beast, right? Because I can't block a questing beast because I'm a cat deck. Mm-hmm. So you end up just having to casualties of war a questing beast in a land, which is okay. Like, killing a land and a creature is like not bad, but for 6 mana, like that's asking a lot. I don't know. So yeah, it's hard to say. And like Garrick's also 6, that's just a lot.
Yeah.
In standard when things feel so hyper efficient and there's always, it's like one of the first things you said actually was that you can always do something with your mana. So like tapping out for 6 is so much when there's so many things you can do with mana sinks. Even just making a food with Goose.
Yeah.
Sacking a food token trail, all those things, it's like when you have 6 mana spells, you don't get to do those things anymore. So you got to make the decision of like, am I in a spot where I can tap, use my entire turn to cast this one single spell?
Yeah. It's kind of awkward too, because with the cat deck, usually one of the first cards you go to cut is Paradise Druid. Because it's like you don't really ever want to trim on your engine outside of specific situations. And there's some matchups where you want to keep your top end threats as well, like Massacre Girl or Vraska. So you kind of are in a weird spot where you want to start trimming your mana acceleration, but you're bringing in 6 drops. So it's a little weird. But
one thing you should let people know too is like, if you're playing cat, you should bring in a Love Struck Beast against fires.
Yeah. So this is a sideboard plan I originally wasn't doing, but have realized very quickly that you should definitely be doing it, because just trying to, duress them out of the game is just not a winning game plan versus fires. Not only is duress horrible against them, but you want massive creatures that can not only pressure, but also just trade for a Cavalier on the ground.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Love Struck Beast. You brought it in against me in the last match because you said you wanted to try it. And it was actually really good because if you put enough pressure with just 5/5s, like I might have to play a Cavalier to block, but normally Cavaliers just come down to stabilize the whole board. Mm-hmm. But if they're in a point where I'm like, I have to chump or a trade, that's not ideal for the Cavalier player to ever be trading. Mm-hmm. Like you should just dominate the board, right, with these Cavaliers. So it can become super awkward. So yeah, Love Struck Beast is way better than Duress.
I've become more and more impressed with Love Struck Beast the more I've seen it played.
Card's just so big, man.
You were brewing a green-black list that you talked about, and I copied your list, and probably it was pilot error, but I just could not win a game. But I put Love Struck Beast's main, and then they won games.
So we actually originally did have Love Struck Beast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but we cut him.
Why?
Well, because that deck has great hedge cam.
Yeah.
You know how that works?
Right. I'm aware that the cats are 2/2s, but your follow-up Love Struck Beast that you draw with Great Henge makes a token that doesn't get pumped, and then your 6/6 beast can attack.
Yeah.
Like I added Love Struck Beast just to like round out the draws.
But your cats are 2/2s.
Right.
That's why we we're like, can we afford this non-bow?
Right. But the draws without Great Henge, I don't know. It just was something to do when I didn't have Great Henge. It also was another creature that let me more easily cast Great Henge. And then I had 2 Feasting Troll Kings.
Probably should just have it in there, actually.
Troll King was actually pretty good because like...
I think that like a 1 of that card is actually good in a lot of decks.
Yeah, I put in 2 because like I was playing Rotting Regisaur, which the combo here is that you Regisaur into Great Henge for 2. And people would just kill it because they knew it was coming. Because there's no reason you're playing that card otherwise. And don't have red mana for Embercleave. It's one of the artifacts. But I had a game where I like played Troll King, made 3 food. They killed it, and then I was like, okay, bring back Troll King, cast Great Henge. Like,
yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, Great Henge is hard to beat
Yeah.
once it's on the board. Once it's on the board, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Lovestruck Beast just actually like probably underplayed in a lot of decks. That card is just so like you could just play it in any deck. It's just massive, man. Like
I have 4 in my Juncat sideboard right now, and I don't think that number is going to change anytime soon.
it's just useful against aggro. Like against aggro match, they just can't beat that card.
It's huge. It's 5/5.
It's a 5/5. It's so big, man.
It's so like I hesitate to say it pivots very well because sometimes it can't attack, but it pivots quite well. Like it is very good on an offense or defense.
Oh yeah, no, the card's
It's
insane.
massive.
Yeah, and the fact that it comes with a body on the same card, is even good. Card's just really,
and
really
it's just
strong.
so good in Cat specifically because you have a recursive 1/1 that just you can never get rid of.
Yeah.
So it can usually pivot always.
Yeah, I wanted to expand on a point here. So you guys were talking about duress versus Lovestruck Beast, in particular against fires. And so one of our bullet points here, we sort of have a smorgasbord of topics about sideboarding. One of them is sort of duress and how we think duress is being included or used a bit incorrectly in the current format. So we've talked up duress in the past, especially on our proactive sideboarding episode about how, it's very good. It's something to do. It's a proactive threat in control mirrors, and it's something that you don't really have to wait around for your opponent to do something. You get to dictate when you cast duress, and it's still great for all of those reasons. But to elaborate on sort of the situations in which you should be using duress and to explain why we don't think it's good against fires. Duress is very good against inherently reactive cards. You want, like, the typical classic example is duress versus counterspell. If you duress someone, they have counterspells in their hand, they're going to counter it to conceal information, and because you'd probably take the counterspell anyway. So you're up on mana on that trade. But the reason, one of the main reasons why it's good there is that your opponent literally can't use counterspells until you do something. So there are cards that will remain in their hand. Like if they draw a counterspell, it will sit there until you let them use it. So you can wait, and whenever you cast a duress, it's likely that they will have a counterspell because these cards are sort of inherently reactive and they wait around for you to do something. In contrast, I think the idea people have bringing duress in against fires is that you pick off the fires of invention, or you get like a Drawn from Dreams, or you get something to slow them down, which sometimes works, but they will play out those cards the first opportunity that they get. So if you manage to duress the first one, they will just play the second one they draw. It's not going to sit there for your second duress. And in addition, I mean, Fires has a bunch of creatures, but against these like tap out control decks, like things that they just play the non-creatures as they draw them, in particular the second copies, they will be playing out the cards that you want to duress, and you will be drawing duress that therefore can't hit them anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You're making a gamble on the percentage chance that you get to tag it in time. Like, it's one of those things where if duress is in your opener, it's okay. But if it's not, it could end up being horrible.
And even if it's in your opener, your first duress is fine because it hits their first thing. And your second duress probably misses the second copy of whatever it is you want to take because they played it by the time they draw it.
Yeah, exactly. So duress is just put in such an awkward vice where, you're also taking the turn off. But yeah, Fires, I think the thing that people aren't understanding maybe about Fires as a Cavalier version is that it's not a reactive deck. Yeah, it's a mid-range combo deck. It has, what's a 3-mana card? Deafening Clarion.
Mm-hmm.
So people probably think, control deck, but duress is in my sideboard. It's like, that's not what's happening here. This is a Cavalier deck. Like, it's a giant mid-range cheating on mana deck. It's combo. It's an abomination. But like it's not a deck that's just going to sit there with a bunch of spells in its hand, waiting for you to do something and to duress them. They're just going to proactively kill you. Like that's their game plan, is to 20. Well, they usually can 17 you or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? In one shot and then kill you the next turn. That's what's happening. So like, what is duress doing there, right? I think that, and also as a survey, people get duressed in the cat mirror, which is like just same thing, just bonkers.
Yeah.
If I draw my Witch's Oven, I'm playing it.
Yeah, I think specifically with the Jeskai deck, a lot of people trick themselves into bringing duress in because a lot of people just kind of see blue-white as a color pairing and just automatically assume that duress is good versus blue-white color pairing, so therefore it is good versus this deck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
And, like, if you break it down to just basic simplicity of why is duress good versus control decks, it's because you can cast it early, you can form your game plan around what counter spells they have, you can pick off a counter spell, or you can wait later so you can force through one of your important spells to resolve, right?
Yeah, you have so many options with your duress. Your duress is so flexible in what you're talking about.
Yeah. But when you're playing against Jeskai Cavaliers, what duress doesn't really do the same function.
And it's so inflexible.
Yeah.
Like you have to have it early or you're toast.
Mm-hmm. They, like, okay.
And even then,
you get a fires, then what?
Right, then they just
pay
hard
5 for a
cast.
Cavalier,
Well,
yeah.
no, they just hard cast the Drawn from Dreams in their hand, and then next turn just play one Cavalier. But
Right.
you spent your time duressing. So what's your game plan?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's my issue, and that's what I'm getting at. Is I think that there's this, and this is one of the things we were talking about, is that, you know, at what point are you giving up consistency and the ability to win in time, like your own deck's game plan, in order to, you know, have this one sideboard card? You know, like, is it worth? Does that sideboard plan, does its inclusion in your deck sacrifice your deck's major game plan? And I think against fires, like that, it's obviously dependent. There are some matches where, yeah, you're okay with that. But I think a lot of the decks, like the Cat deck, I don't think they really care about duressing you that much. You know, I think that Sorcerer Spyglass against them is actually better. Just name Red Cavalier, slow them down, and then you can, you know, figure it out from there.
Yeah, and it's just kind of a weird spot now where historically, if duress is in a standard format, and you're playing black, it's just always been an auto include.
Oh, for sure, it has been,
right?
Always.
But right now, specifically, I don't think it's as easy as just jamming 4 duress into your sideboard.
I actually wonder if it's even good versus blue-white. Because blue-white right now, if you look at the deck list, is just a billion counterspells that are interchangeable, essentially. You know, they just play a bunch of counterspells. They play Brazen Borrowers, so they can, anything that sneaks through, they can bounce and recounter later. And then their late game cards are Agent of Treachery.
Yeah, Gadwick, Agent of Treachery.
So those are the ones they'll keep in their hand, which aren't duressable.
Yeah.
Right? So even the color pairing that duress is allegedly good against, you know, it's fine. Like, I would still bring it again in against blue-white, depending on the deck that I was playing. But when I was playing Cat, I didn't. I cut it from my sideboard completely. I do not have duress in my sideboard of any of the Cat lists I've been playing, because I just don't think that it matters against blue-white. I think you're trying to grind them out with Trail Crumbs and, like, you know, Midnight Reaper, Witch's Oven, like all those things, you know, and you should just get, you know, and because you can sneak those cards through.
Yeah, they all cost 1 and 2 mana. They're very easy to get.
I don't need to duress them, you know, like I just need to have a Cat resolve.
Yeah.
You know, and then
Even if it doesn't, I'll get it back.
and if they start countering stuff, okay, well, I'll still draw cards, you know, I'll still have my engine, okay, that's fine. What's a single duress doing, you know? Also, I think it's super awkward with Trail. You know, like, I hate whiffing. You know, the more and more non-creature spells you add to your deck.
Yeah.
And it's happened. It's definitely happened to me. I flipped a duress casualties, which was the final straw. I was like, yeah, I'm done here. Like, I'm just taking this card out of my sideboard and putting in things that are actually helpful. And I think having stickier threats is currently better. You know?
I agree.
Like, just being sticky.
Yeah.
Just real annoying.
Playing Deathless Knight.
Yeah, Deathless Knight is awesome.
Would you have ever thought that would be a standard playable card when you saw it?
No, but did you think Cat would be?
No. Well, Cat's a weird one because there's a weird chance because, you know, sack and stuff, bringing him back.
Yeah. There's a chance that always ends up in Aristocrat's deck, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Deathless Knight.
Deathless Knight, I always assume that would be a limited card.
Yeah.
But
well, it's nuts and limited though.
Yeah,
But
very good and limited.
man, yeah, no, I'd rather have that, and I have had that in my sideboard versus blue-white and other control decks because that card is really sticky and really hard to deal with. What are you gonna do? Counter it? Sure, man. You know, it's like, what are you gonna do? Counter my Cat? All right, bring it back and bring back this Deathless Knight. You know, so I just think there's a lot of times where people aren't thinking about what it is their stickiest, most annoying game plan is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what you should try to be sort of upgrading, you know? I think there's a tendency to, okay, I'll just bring in duress because it's generically good. But it's like, is it generically good in Cat? You know? Because in Cat, what makes the deck good? Like, what is it that's good about the deck?
Well, you just can outgrind pretty much any deck in the format.
Right. So like, why do you need duress
You don't.
if you're grinding?
That's the thing. You
Right.
don't.
That's what I'm getting at. And you're not worried about counter, you're really not worried about counter magic. Sure, you can get, hosed out where you just never resolve anything because they have the nut draw. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm saying, generally speaking, and I guess this goes to the point of, you have to think about what it is you're trying to accomplish when you're sideboarding, right?
Mm.
And I think a lot of people make the mistake of, scary control deck, I'll take their duress. I don't want to get time wiped. It's like, you're playing cat, man. He can't wrath you. It's just not an option for them.
Yeah, this leads into another point that we have here, sort of a philosophy about sideboarding. It's post-board, who's trying to stop who? This cat deck, it's a very resilient engine. It has a lot of recursion. It has sort of everything that control hates. So the blue-white control deck needs to stop what cat is doing. And once you realize that, the cat player shouldn't try and stop what the blue-white player is doing because that's not your role. You should try to change your deck to make it even harder for blue-white to stop what you're doing with sticky things like Deathless Knight. You're not trying to stop them. You're trying to make it even harder for them to stop you.
Yeah, it's like the sideboard version of Who's the Beatdown,
Yeah.
the famous article about understanding your role in a matchup, and something we've also talked about in the past. You also need to bring that into, bring that to bear when you sideboard. What am I sideboarding for? To stop their plan or to make it so they can't stop mine?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem a lot of people make. And I think duress doesn't really play into the cat sideboard. And in fact, in standard right now, I just don't even think it's that essential across the board. And I'm not convinced that it's a particularly useful card. Whereas Thought Erasure, I think is, because you can tag anything and that's a lot more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody duresses me and I'm playing cat, I'm like, man, I got 10 non-creature spells. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Because people miss against me all the time. What's happening here?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, if you take my oven, okay, what if I just draw another one?
Right. You're not going to be able to get the second oven I draw.
The cards I leave in my hand, maybe casualties. It depends. If they're a 4 casualties deck, I probably might want duress. If that became normal, we're just saying in the meta currently, obviously things change. But yeah, I'm trying to think, late game in cat, I'm holding I don't know, some lands, a Murderous Rider, stuff you can't duress, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
there are a lot of games too where you just kind of get down to 1 or 2 cards in hand, and then you're just drawing an extra card every turn, playing it out immediately. You have your trail engine going. You're just kind of picking up an extra card here and there.
yeah, and how does duress look in that moment?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like I'm picking on duress, but I'm just bringing up this particular matchup and example to sort of demonstrate the way in which sort of even sideboard cards are contextual and specific for, it's not duress isn't universally helpful or good, no card is.
Maybe to illustrate a place in standard where I think duress still would be good and you still would want to sort of illustrate how this all comes together. If maybe there's a lot of players at your LGS or you happen in your league and arena to play against a lot of Teamer Reclamation, there it's better because while the reclamations just get played out immediately, the expansion explosions are cards that they want to have sit in their hand until they have a lot of lands and they can do it for a huge amount. It's a card that, if they draw it early, will stay in their hand for multiple turns. And duress is perfect to picking off things like this.
Man, I have a funny story from playing against that exact deck when I went to duress my Reclamation opponent and they expansioned it, looked at my hand of no non-creature spells, and then I got to take a spell out of their hand. So I just got two spells for the cost of 1 black mana.
That's actually insane.
It was nuts.
Yeah, that's wild. But doesn't that really demonstrate the point, right?
Yeah.
About who wants to duress who and who needs to be duressed? Because duress implies that there's something, imminently terrible they're going to do, or I need to make sure this resolves. It's one or the other, and cat decks are grindy, fire decks are playing creatures.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's a failure to misunderstand, it's people make this mistake, when they decide to mull post board as well, which is something else we're going to talk about, which is, keeping, let's say you are playing a duress deck, you're playing mono black aggro on standard, versus blue-white control. And your hand is, I don't know, 3 duress, 3 lands.
Knight of the Ebon Legion.
Knight of the Ebon Legion. Wow, that's actually too good.
Okay.
Knight is too good.
That's
Let's
a
say
bad
it's like
example.
Midnight Reaper.
Okay, sure.
It's double duress or even triple. Doesn't matter, Yeah, let's say double duress, Midnight Reaper 3 lands like against blue white. Do you actually keep that hand? I don't think you do.
So I've been tricked into this before. I've definitely kept 7s on the thought process of like, it's not great, but I don't want to mull, and it's got sideboard cards. Not realizing that within the 7 cards I've kept, there isn't a functional like pre-board 5 or 6.
Yeah, like what's your plan if that's your keep? Like, okay, I'm going to play a land Duressum. Okay, it's turn 3. I still have no pressure. I'm going to tap out to play Midnight Reaper. So on turn 4, I can attack for 3 versus control. That's your game plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're dead. You're dead. The game's over. You've literally lost on the decision when you didn't mull that hand.
Doesn't matter how many cards you take from their opener. They will draw more, and they can wait longer than you can.
Well, and it just literally requires one Chemister's Insight to be in their hand for that to be a horrendous plan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because then they just don't care. Okay, I'm just cash something later for 2 cards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to outgrind them. You know, if they top deck it to Fairy in that time, you know, they just bounce your Midnight Reaper. Now you're not attacking for anything on turn 4.
Yeah, you can't pressure the Teferi.
They're at 20. What do you win in the long game against Agent of Treachery, Mass Manipulation,
Oh, you got some Castle Lock
time wipes? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. And I think that people make this mistake about seeing sideboard cards. Like, what did you say? The best sideboard or the best opening is like 6 cards that are your primary game plan and then 1 sideboard card?
Yeah, like the nut 7 to keep post board is a reasonable to good pre-board 6 and a sideboard card. Depending on, I mean, again, that's sort of contextual, but that's like a good plan to go by. Like if you don't have a suitably functional 5 or 6 within the hand you're keeping post board because sideboard cards are drowning out your card quantity, then like, I mean, you probably shouldn't keep it, especially if you need to be proactive. If you're something like control and you've boarded in a bunch of certain removal spells, then sure, because control decks like have the luxury of waiting things out. And really they just need to stop their opponent for long enough. So a bunch of targeted removal spells is fine there. So this really is for proactive decks, like the Midnight Reaper example, right? Like that deck can't win if it doesn't have pressure assembled, or like any other sort of like the cat decks are a good example too. If you bring in like a bunch of Noxious Grasps because your opponent's doing whatever, green and white things, if an influx of sideboard cards in your opening hand means that you are missing enough pieces that you can't, that it takes you like 3 turns of like I play a cat 1 turn, then like I draw a Trail of Crumbs, and the next turn I draw an Oven, like that's so slow to assemble your pieces and start actually doing what your deck can do that like you're, even if you stop 2 of your opponent's things, they're probably still just doing more than you are.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I still think it's just right now, at least in Modern for sure, and in Standard for sure, probably just in Magic. Actually, I'm trying to think of a format where this isn't the case. I just think being proactive is better, and I don't mean that in the sense of like control or aggro decks. I mean it in the sense of like card decisions and how you want to play out your turns. Like, I just think that you need to be doing anything that advances your game plan, as opposed, like, I would always favor things that advance my game plan as opposed to stopping my opponent.
Yeah. Well, this hand you brought up as an example is a good example because, like, you're not winning the game you're going duress, Midnight Reaper. The game you're winning is when you're going 1-2-drop duress. And the value of duress is a lot different when you've played a 1-drop into a 2-drop than if you play a duress into a duress.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
In this specific example.
Because then you have an actual game plan.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I listed a bunch of decks where this is the case, right? Like Tron, where people are like, oh, it has a land destruction spell in it. It's like, right, but you have no pressure. So they'll just also wait, you know? Burn and Storm, you know, Storm and Legacy. It's like, you know, they bring in some duresses, you know? And then, but like, they can't just bring in 12 Thoughtseize, Duress, and Xanthid Swarms. Like, they still need to have their primary game plan. They need to threaten to be able to kill you. Mm-hmm. All decks need to always prioritize their primary game plan, I think. And I think that sideboards that can assist in continuing that primary game plan are better than cards that disrupt your opponent's primary game plan, unless they're just like full-blown wipeouts, you know, like Blood Moon, which we talked about in the past. So it's complicated, but I mean, if it's like a, you know, Stony Silence, that's better.
Yeah, when we're talking silver bullets, things change a little bit. But
like Haymaker sideboard cards are obviously better, but past that, I think there's a tendency for people to swap cards that aren't necessarily helpful towards their primary game plan. And advancing, like, you should still sideboard with your primary game plan in mind, and like you should mull post board with your primary game plan in mind.
Yeah, exactly. You can't trick yourself into keeping hands that aren't actually good just because they have multiple sideboard cards. in
Oh,
it.
it's got sideboard card. That's nuts.
Yeah.
You know, like I get it because I've done it 1,000 times.
Oh, yeah,
Everyone
sure.
does it. Everyone, man. Like the amount of games lost. I bet that the amount of standard games lost in best of 3 due to that exact train of thought is in the bajillions. Like it's got to be just astronomical how many people are like, I mean, it's got like a sideboard card in. How could it be bad? You know, and then you just get absolutely steamrolled because you're just not thinking about it the way you should be, which is, well, what's the game plan of my deck?
Yeah.
Right? Can I keep this hand? Is it functional? Does it put forth like, you know, whatever primary game plan to win the game that I have? So that's why I say like proactive, right? It's like putting forth the plan, which for control is like, yeah, keep these removal spells, do nothing and kill your stuff. Like, okay, I'm winning.
This happened to me when I was playing Pioneer. Stelly watched this game. I was playing Sultai Emerge, like a graveyard prized amalgam deck. And I was against like some green-black rock, and he went like turn 0 ley line and then did nothing, and then drew a Grafdigger's Cage and played that and continued to do nothing. And then I just like cast amalgams and attacked him.
Yeah, and then you just died, right?
Yeah, I mean, he also had mulled, but it exasperated the fact that these cards actually don't do anything if you're not doing anything else.
Yeah, exactly. This is something I hinted at about the Haymakers episode a while back where I was saying I died to those zombies after like surgical extracting his Vengevines and his Hogak and Legacy, and then I just died to two what's it called, grave crawlers, you know, because I didn't have anything else. Like I had nothing else going on, you know. It's like I had these 2 surgicals and a Snapcaster. It's like, all right, perfect, I can beat him. And then I'm like, wait. Like a couple turns in, I'm like, wait, I don't have anything else going on. Like I can only answer 2 graveyard cards, and then I'll just die to a 2/2, you know? And then I died to like 2/2s and 2/1s, right? And so it's a mistake a lot of people make, and I've made all the time. And I think people should be cognizant of that. I think it's like, this is actually probably one of the better tips we've ever given.
Yeah, I think, okay, so would you agree with the sort of thought of if you're sideboarding on the fly, which happens a lot because people are unprepared or it's an unfamiliar matchup or I don't know, something.
I mean, this is the Disorganized Wizard Club. I have no idea what I'm doing.
If you're sideboarding on the fly, I feel like in particular when people are sideboarding on the fly, they sideboard too much because they just feel like, I got a sideboard. But like if you're playing something, you know, aggressive or something synergistic and you're not quite sure how you should change your deck, that it's probably better to err on changing it less and just hoping that, you know, you can enact your game plan post-board.
Do you realize that you don't always have to sideboard?
Yeah, you don't always have to switch 4
you
cards.
could swap 1 card if you wanted.
Yeah.
And your deck could still be correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's a hot tip. You know what I'm saying? Like actually, though, I think a lot of people have this like sort of fear of, well, I must be doing something wrong because I don't think I need to sideboard. You know, I think my deck's nuts against them. The only thing you could probably do better is, okay, well, what are they going to bring in against me? And should I bring in anything to answer that so that I can continue my game plan?
Yeah.
You know?
But even I do this. I must have done this last night when I'm just like playing Arena, like not really thinking, can't focus because I've got music and game sounds and all these other sounds on.
See, too many sounds.
Yeah, too many sounds.
The mind flutter, dude.
The first thing I do...
Mind if I roll me?
The first thing I do is like the sideboard screen pops up and I click my sideboard cards. I'm like, I want this. This is good against them. This is good. I want this. And then I like stare at my main deck. I'm like, I don't know what to take out. And then I just kind of like randomly choose some things, never thinking like, maybe I should take out the sideboard cards I just added.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. That's why sideboard guides are probably actually super helpful. You know, you should bring them with you to any real tournament. We actually talked about this a long time ago before you joined us on this show, Cam. This is how old this was. I don't even take this advice myself because I'm not very bright, but we said a long time ago that if you don't have a sideboard guide with you when you go to a real tournament with a constructed deck, you're inting. Like you're doing something wrong because there's no way you're memorizing everything perfectly of what goes in and out unless you have, which.
But then you're bringing a guide.
Right, because you have it memorized.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you should have one with you, like at least a rough sketch of like, okay, I bring this in. If they have this, you should have those. And we used to adamantly say that you should have those things. I don't do it every time. I didn't do it this weekend because I just didn't really care about that. Sounds bad, but I just didn't really care about the tournament.
And not only, it's not always good to just take everyone, if someone gives you a sideboard guide, like taking their word for
Yeah, you got to be.
Because it actually, like writing out your own sideboard guide, thinking about the matches beforehand, just putting pen and paper does a lot for actually just thinking about how the matchups play out and how you want them to play out. And you'll just understand it more.
Yeah. And
by doing that.
It'll force you to actually go on and look at what other people are boarding in against you and like familiarize yourself with other deck lists, which is really a massive portion of constructed Magic. Like that's one of the biggest, most important things you can be doing, right? Is sort of scouting, okay, well, what is it they're going to do against me? What is the game plan they're going to try and do to stop me? How does this matchup play out? Yeah, so understanding those things is, incredibly important. Yeah, and I just think
this actually, so like in some of my spare time, I've been like trying to learn a little bit more about chess than just the basic rules. And I make this mistake all the time because I'm really bad at chess. I'll be like, if I put my knight here, like it attacks their queen, and then like a rook will checkmate me. I'll be like, rats.
yeah, that is a classic. So I hate playing people because I used to play a lot and I was okay.
Yeah.
And I remember I finally played Ron at Pixel, this like game pub when we were here, and I was really drunk and I was fine, I'll play you. And I did the exact same thing to him, like 2 minutes, like 20 games running. Like 30 seconds, I just beat him because he'd same thing. He'd be like, check. I'm like, okay, checkmate, you're dead. Like, he's like, oh.
But exactly, it's that like I'm over focused on like attacking my opponent and ignoring how I'm going to get attacked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like thinking about that in sideboard plans, I think is really the only way to go about it. And sort of, I think it's really important to think about, like who is trying to stop who. I think that's one of the better points too that we had is like when you're playing cat, blue-white has to stop you.
Yeah.
You're locked in here with me.
Yeah. So I guess like, to summarize, like if you think your opponent has to stop you and you don't think there are cards in your sideboard that necessarily make it harder for them to stop you, probably just don't sideboard much. Yeah. Don't dilute your game plan because it's already a struggle for them to stop.
Yeah, swap a little upgrades if you can. But
yeah, do some upgrades, but like you don't need to like cut important parts of your game plan for duresses or counterspells or things to stop them.
Yeah, you can just keep your game plan in place, diversify your threats a little bit, and then just approach this matchup the same way you did in game one. But if you diversify your threats, they not only have to answer your one plan, but also your other ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a really important aspect of sideboarding and constructed is understanding where you fall in that field, where you fall in that matchup of like, okay, what is it my job to do post board? What is my responsibility? Like what is my deck trying to do? Am I actually swapping my game plan and now I'm going to like the beatdown role of like I'm this mid-range like aggro creature deck, and I just got to kill them before they kill me kind of thing? Or, am I just going to keep doing the same thing but be a little stickier? Like, there's a bunch of ways to think about it, and it obviously varies from matchup to matchup. There's no clean answer. And in fact, sideboard cards and choices completely vary this decision as well. And it's something that you just have to start thinking about when you're playing. That's, what I mean? There's no clean answer. And I say this because I feel like we're picking on duress. You know what I mean? Like, duress is bad. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in specific cases, like with the cat deck, for example, I don't think it's particularly as helpful as people might think it is. So, and I guess like Leyline of the Void, same thing, right? It's like, you're just stopping cat. You're not stopping trail.
Yeah.
You're not stopping, I don't know, Vraska. Like there's a bunch of issues. So it's about thinking, well, what is my role in the matchup? And how am I approaching this matchup?
If you're unsure, these are things that you can do in testing. Like you can build a sideboard with like, okay, assuming I am the one that needs to stop my opponent, I'm going to build this sideboard and then try it in some post-board matches. And if it doesn't work, be like, okay, maybe that assessment was wrong. Now what if I build a sideboard assuming that they need to stop me? And then try that sideboard in some testing, and you'll find out which one's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is probably how people came to transformational sideboards. Yeah. You know what I mean? They were like, ugh, like my game one plan is like atrocious in the meta. Or sorry, my game one plan. My game one plan is very good in the meta, but my post board, it's too hard. People have too many answers for me post board, right? Mm-hmm. And then so it's like, okay, well, I'll just bail, and play a completely transformational sideboard. Those are the times you have transformational sideboards.
Yeah, it's like an extreme example of they need to stop me. So to make it harder for them to stop me, I'm going to do something that they're not trying to stop.
Yeah, and it's like they're going to stop me. They will successfully stop me. That's, you know what I mean? When you have a transformational sideboard, it's an acknowledgement that, they're going to stop me.
Yeah.
They will be able to board in cards if they're prepared at all to shut down what I'm doing. And so instead I will, it's like when Wilderness Reclamation Nexus deck used to bring in, what's that card? Biogenic Ooze.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? It's this exact same logic. Okay, well, they're going to duress me, thought around, whatever. Bring in these things to stop this combo. I'll just beat them down.
Mm-hmm.
I was bringing a bunch of creatures because it wasn't like they just brought in biogenic. Like I've saw lists back then, man, where people had like 13 to 15 cards in their sideboard were just creatures, and they would just board into a creature package.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You're diversifying your threats. Your opponent's attacking you from your main angle.
Yeah.
And then you're presenting another threat that they're not ready for.
Yeah. Because like you just assume you're going to get like unmoored egoed. So you're like, okay, well, I just won't even play towards that plan anymore. So
I definitely lost to a wilderness reclamation player doing that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
The
I
other
played
day.
that all the time.
I'm like, yeah, to arrest them. They're like, hey, buy Genicus. I'm like, well,
And it's
Nah,
exactly
I'm dead.
right. It's
Ah,
when you're not
shit.
thinking, right? You're like, oh, this duress would be nuts. And then you see the biogenic ooze and you're like, oh, that should have been obvious.
wait
Like,
a tick.
You're like, what? I'm just so dead. Yeah. I'm never winning now.
I took out all my removal.
Yeah, exactly. You brought out all your removal. So there are times where you can make those decisions, and that's when, right? It's like, well, what are they going to do to try and stop me? Or, so the first question is, are they going to try and stop me, or do I have to stop them? If they are going to try and stop me, how should I build my sideboard and sideboard?
Yeah.
That's how you should think about it. There's a lot to talk about.
Well said.
Yeah, that was.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure, as always, you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. Be on the lookout for the Black Friday sale starting this week. If you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/DWC Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at DWC Podcast 1, Facebook, the Disorganized Wizard Club Podcast. And however you listen to the show, whether it's Podbean, iTunes, any podcast app, leave a review, rate the podcast, share it with your friends. Everything helps, keeps this thing growing and bring it to listeners. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Later.